So today we will discuss third, fourth and sixth cranial nerve. Okay, the oculomotor, trochlear and abducens. They are mainly motor nerves for the extraocular muscles. Okay, so we will discuss individual nerve, their course, their different component of the nucleus. Okay, these nerves are important for your theory. So first we will discuss third cranial nerve, that is oculomotor nerve. It is the third cranial nerve. It is purely motor. So third nerve is purely motor nerve and it supplies all the extraocular muscle except the superior oblique and lateral rectus. Superior oblique is supplied by the trochlear nerve and lateral rectus by the abducens nerve. It carries the preganglionic parasympathetic fibers for the ciliary ganglion and which supplies the sphincter pupillae and ciliary muscles. Okay, so this is the supplying area of the oculomotor nerve. What will be the functional components and the nuclei? One is general somatic efferent, another is general visceral efferent, other is the general somatic afferent. Okay, so general somatic efferent fibers, these are mainly the motor fibers and these fibers arise from the motor nucleus of the oculomotor nerve and they supply the extraocular muscles. Next is general visceral efferent. These fibers arise from Edinger-Westphal nucleus and these are parasympathetic component of the oculomotor nucleus and they supply the sphincter pupillae and ciliary muscles. Okay, so this is the function of this component. Next is general somatic afferent component. These fibers carry the proprioceptive sensation from the extraocular muscle to the mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. Okay, so these are the supply of these three components. Next, so this chart you remember, general somatic efferent nucleus for this component is motor nucleus of oculomotor nerve supplying extraocular muscles. General visceral efferent is Edinger-Westphal nucleus is Edinger-Westphal nucleus supplying the sphincter pupillae and ciliary muscles and this component is facilitating the reflexes, okay, pupillary reflexes, light reflex, accommodation reflex, all these are controlled by this Edinger-Westphal nucleus. So next we are going to general somatic afferent component. Nucleus for this component is mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve and it carries proprioceptive sensation from the extraocular muscle. So these are the different component, their nucleus and their function. This is important for your theory. Okay. Next. So same thing, functional component, nuclei and their functions we have discussed for third cranial nerve. Next, this comes in your theory, functional component of the oculomotor nerve. Okay. Next we go to oculomotor nucleus complex. Okay. So these are the components, they are forming the complex. It has a dorsolateral part which is supplying the inferior rectus, intermediate part supplying inferior oblique, ventromedial part supplying the medial rectus, caudal central part supplying superior rectus and median raphe supplying the levator palpebrae superioris. Okay, so these are the components and they are supplying muscles. Next, here is the location of Edinger-Westphal nucleus and which is supplying the ciliary muscle and the sphincter pupillae. See, the oculomotor nucleus complex, it lies in the ventromedial part of periaqueductal grey matter of the midbrain at the level of superior colliculus. Here, this is the aqueduct of Sylvius, this is periaqueductal gray. So, on the ventromedial aspect of this periaqueductal gray, this is the location of oculomotor nuclear complex. Okay. So, the parts of the nuclear complex, it consists of this dorsolateral part, to supply the inferior rectus, intermediate parts to supply inferior oblique, ventromedial part to supply medial rectus, caudal central part to supply superior rectus, median raphe to supply the levator palpebrae superioris, and Edinger Westphal nucleus which gives rise to preganglionic parasympathetic fibers for the ciliary muscle and sphincter pupilli. So these are the components of the oculomotor nucleus complex and their supply. Next, the caudal central and the median raphe nuclei, they supply the levator palpebrae superioris and the superior rectus muscle. Okay, and these are the central connections of the oculomotor nerve. Oculomotor nucleus receives following fibers: the corticonuclear fiber from the motor areas of both the cerebral hemispheres. This medial longitudinal fasciculus, it connects the oculomotor nucleus with the 4th, 6th and 8th cranial nerve nuclei for coordination of the eye movement. Both the pretectal nucleus for direct and consensual light reflex and accommodation. Okay, so these are the central connections of the oculomotor nerve. Central connection sometimes comes in your theory. Okay, next is the origin of the nerve. It arises as a single trunk which emerges through a sulcus on the medial side of the crus cerebri of the midbrain. Course and relation: the course of the nerve is divided into 3 segments. Intraneural course, the course within the midbrain or up to the level of it coming out from the midbrain. Next is intracranial course. Next is orbital course. Intracranial course from its coming out from the midbrain up to its entry into the superior orbital fissure. Okay, and orbital course after the superior orbital fissure. So for intraneural course, the fibers of oculomotor nerve arise from the nucleus and traverse through the tegmentum, red nucleus and substantia nigra in the midbrain. You have seen in the sections of midbrain. Next is intracranial course. This nerve arises from the oculomotor sulcus on the medial aspect of cerebral peduncle of the midbrain, traverses forward in the interpeduncular fossa in between the posterior cerebral and superior cerebellar arteries and enters the roof of the cavernous sinus, runs in the lateral wall of the sinus superior to the trochlear nerve. And in the anterior part of cavernous sinus, the oculomotor nerve divides into superior and inferior rami which enter the superior orbital fissure within the tendinous ring. Okay, tendinous ring of Ginn. Next, from this tendinous ring, 4 recti muscles are arising. Superior, inferior, medial and lateral recti muscles are arising. Okay, so after that we are going to its course in the orbit. It divides into 2 divisions, superior division and inferior division. They are passing through the tendinous ring. It passes, superior division passes forward and upward, lateral to the optic nerve, supplies the superior rectus muscle, pierces this muscle to reach and supply the levator palpebrae superioris muscle. Next is inferior division. It divides into 3 branches to supply the medial rectus, inferior rectus and inferior oblique. So, these muscles are supplied by the oculomotor nerve. And the branch to inferior oblique, this branch, it provides a communicating branch to the ciliary ganglion. Okay. Next, see here from where the nerves are coming out. These are the oculomotor nerves. This is interpeduncular fossa. These are 2 crus cerebri. So oculomotor nerves are coming out from the medial aspect, from the sulcus on the medial aspect of the crus cerebri. Okay, and this is trochlear nerve. Trochlear nerve coming out from the dorsal aspect of the midbrain and they are winding round the crus cerebri and then comes in front. Trochlear nerve is the only nerve which is coming out from the dorsal aspect. Okay. Next is 5th nerve. This is trigeminal nerve. It has two roots, one is sensory, one is motor root, which is coming out from the pons, and these are the sixth nerve, abducent nerve, seventh nerve, facial nerve. Abducent is coming above the pyramid. Above the olive comes out this facial nerve from the pontomedullary junction, and lateral to it comes out this vestibulocochlear or eighth cranial nerve. See here, this oculomotor nerve is entering into the orbit through the superior orbital fissure, dividing into superior division, inferior division. Superior division is supplying the superior rectus, levator palpebris superioris. Inferior division is supplying it is giving a branch to the ciliary ganglion, supplying inferior rectus, inferior oblique, and the medial rectus. Okay, so this is the supplying area for the third cranial nerve. Understood? Next. See here, this oculomotor nerve is coming out from the oculomotor nucleus on the ventromedian aspect of the periaqueductal gray. This is the nucleus, and near it lies this one is Edinger-Westphal nucleus. So from here, it is passing through the midbrain structures, tegmentum, red nucleus, substantia nigra, then coming out from the medial aspect of the crus cerebri. Then it is passing through the in between two arteries, in between posterior cerebral artery and superior cerebellar artery. Then after that, it is entering into the cavernous sinus, lying on the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus above the trochlear nerve. Okay. After that, it is entering through the superior orbital fissure, dividing into two divisions, upper and lower divisions. Upper division is supplying superior rectus, levator palpebris superioris. Inferior division is supplying the inferior oblique, inferior rectus and medial rectus, and it is also giving a communicating branch to the ciliary ganglion. So this is the whole of the course of the oculomotor nerve. Okay. So if it comes in your theory long question, you practice this diagram for course of this nerve. Okay, understood? So this is summarization of oculomotor nerve. It arises from the midbrain, from the medial side of crus cerebri. Intraneural course traverses through tegmentum, red nucleus, substantia nigra. Intracranial course passes through interpeduncular fossa, roof and lateral wall of the cavernous sinus, then enters the orbit through superior orbital fissure. It is giving branches, superior division, inferior division. Superior division is supplying superior rectus, levator palpebris superioris. Inferior division is supplying medial rectus, inferior oblique, and giving branch to the ciliary ganglion, which is supplying the ciliary muscle and sphincter pupillae, and through it is controlling the pupillary reflexes, light reflex, accommodation reflex, like this. Okay. And lesion, in case of injury of this oculomotor nerve, there will be ptosis. Ptosis due to involvement of levator palpebris superioris, downward and outward gaze, dilated and fixed pupil due to involvement of this sphincter pupillae and ciliary muscle, and loss of accommodation also say due to involvement of same, diplopia, proptosis. All these will be symptoms of lesion of oculomotor nerve. We will discuss in details. Next. So superior division was supplying superior rectus, levator palpebris superioris. Here this one is superior division. This is inferior division supplying the medial rectus, inferior oblique, inferior rectus and ciliary ganglion. Branch to ciliary ganglion supplies sphincter ciliary muscles and sphincter pupillae muscles. Next. So this is the symptoms of lesion of oculomotor nerve. Okay. See, hey, this is normal side, and on this side oculomotor nerve is involved. See, there is drooping of the upper eyelid. This is known as ptosis. Okay. Ptosis occurs due to paralysis of levator palpebris superioris. This muscle pulls upward the upper lid. Next, due to paralysis of sphincter pupillae and ciliary muscle, there will be dilated and fixed pupil. See, compare the pupil size. Here it is smaller than this side. This is dilated and fixed pupil. And due to unopposed action of lateral rectus and superior oblique, which are supplied by trochlear nerve and abducens nerve, they are intact. So the eyeball will be rotated towards the lateral side due to pull of lateral rectus and downward due to pull of the superior oblique. So eye will be downward and outward gaze. Eyeball will be located in this gaze. So the damage to the oculomotor nerve may be caused by compression of aneurysm of posterior cerebral or posterior communicating arteries or internal carotid artery. Complete or total damage to the oculomotor nerve results in ptosis or drooping of the upper eyelid due to paralysis of levator palpebrae superioris. There will be downward and outward gaze or lateral strabismus or squint due to unopposed action of lateral rectus and superior oblique. There will be dilated and fixed pupil due to paralysis of sphincter pupillae and ciliary muscles, loss of accommodation due to paralysis of sphincter pupillae and ciliary muscles, diplopia due to paralysis of inferior rectus, inferior oblique, medial rectus muscles, and proptosis due to paralysis of extraocular muscles. Okay. Most of the extraocular muscles are paralyzed are supplied by this nerve. So that's why there will be proptosis. Proptosis means eyeball will be projecting outward. Okay. Next. So all this symptom is important. An important syndrome for this oculomotor nerve paralysis is Weber syndrome. Very important for your theory, Weber syndrome. Okay. And frequently asked in your Viva MCQs. All these can occur due to oculomotor nerve palsy except like this MCQs can come in your theory. Okay, so Weber syndrome is known as superior alternating hemiplegia. Its cause is loss of blood supply of the medial part of the midbrain involving the oculomotor nerve and crus cerebri, the pyramidal fibers. Oculomotor nerve palsy, lower motor neuron type of paralysis of extraocular muscles of the same sides. All those symptoms in the previous slide we have discussed, all these will occur in Weber syndrome. An extra feature is this contralateral hemiplegia. Okay, due to involvement of the pyramidal fibers, upper motor neuron type of paralysis of opposite side of the body occurs. Okay, so these will be the symptoms of Weber syndrome. Very, very important for your theory. Weber syndrome. Sometimes in long question, course of the nerve is asked. Also this clinical aspect is asked. Okay. Next. Next, we have completed third nerve. Next, we are going to fourth nerve. That is trochlear nerve. Trochlear nerve has these two functional components and nuclei. Somatic efferent and general somatic efferent. General somatic efferent fibers arise from trochlear nucleus in the midbrain at the level of inferior colliculus and it supplies the superior oblique muscle of the eyeball. Next is general somatic afferent fibers. They carry proprioception from the superior oblique muscle to the mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. Okay. Next. So these are the two components. General somatic efferent component, nucleus is a trochlear nucleus, function is superior oblique muscle of the eyeball. And general somatic afferent component, it involves this nucleus, mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal nerve, and it carries the proprioception sensation from the superior oblique muscle. Okay, so these are the two components of the trochlear nerve. Next, so trochlear nerve has these two functional component of nuclei, general somatic efferent component involving this trochlear nucleus and supplying superior oblique muscle, and general somatic afferent component, it involves mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal nerve and helps in carrying the proprioception from superior oblique muscle. Origin is from the dorsal aspect of the midbrain and its cores are also divided in three parts: intraneural, intracranial and intraorbital part. So intraneural part passes backward, crosses to the opposite side, and intracranial part it winds around the midbrain, around the superior cerebellar peduncle and crus cerebri, and runs in the lateral wall of cavernous sinus and then enter the orbit through the superior orbital fissure. And within the orbit, it will supply the superior oblique muscle. Okay, so 4. So supplies the superior oblique muscle. This is the branch. And what will be the clinical aspect? Lesion of this nerve will lead to extortion of the eyeball and weakness of downward gaze and diplopia. Okay, only one muscle is involved here, superior oblique. So function of superior oblique was intorsion. So if it is paralyzed, there will be extorsion. Extorsion means lateral rotation of the eyeball. Okay. Next. So what are the peculiarities? This is very frequently asked in your viva. Peculiarities of the trochlear nerve also comes in your MCQs. Okay, and also part of the theory question. So it is the thinnest cranial nerve. See, this is the trochlear nerve and they are crisscrossing within the midbrain and then coming out from the dorsal aspect. Only cranial nerve coming out from dorsal aspect. It supplies only one muscle, superior oblique, only cranial nerve that emerges on the dorsal aspect of the brain, and it is the only cranial nerve whose fibers decussate in the brainstem before it emerges. Okay, no other nerves are decussating before emerging from the brainstem, and its nucleus receives only the ipsilateral corticonuclear fibers. Okay, so these are the trochlear nerve nuclei in the midbrain. So what is the origin? This trochlear nerve emerges on the dorsal aspect of the midbrain, one on either side of the frenulum vellae. Frenulum vellae was forming the roof of the fourth ventricle. Next is the course. The course of the trochlear nerve is divided into 3 parts. All these 3 nerves are divided into 3 parts: intraneural course, intracranial, and orbital. Okay, so intraneural course, the fibers of trochlear nerve begin from the trochlear nucleus and which is located in the periaqueductal gray matter of the midbrain at the level of inferior colliculus. And these fibers pass backward around the gray matter and cross to the opposite side behind the periaqueductal gray matter. You have seen in the previous picture, they are crisscrossing posterior to the gray matter. Next we go to the intracranial course. The nerve emerges on the dorsal aspect of the midbrain, one on either side of frenulum vellae, and then it winds around the superior cerebellar peduncle and cerebral peduncle. Just cerebral peduncle means crus cerebri, just above the pons, and it passes forward between the posterior cerebral and superior cerebellar arteries, pierces the roof of cavernous sinus, runs forward in its lateral wall between the oculomotor and ophthalmic nerves, and next you will enter into the orbit. And trochlear nerve enters the orbit through the superior orbital fissure superolateral to the tendinous ring. Okay, and it superior orbital fissure is divided into 3 parts via the tendinous ring. Tendinous ring forms the middle part. There is a superolateral part and inferomedial part. Okay, so you have to know which structure are passing from which part. So this trochlear nerve is passing from superolateral to the tendinous ring, and it runs medially and forward above the levator palpebrae superioris to enter the orbital surface of the superior oblique muscle. Okay. So next, so this is the course you see. This is from the trochlear nerve nucleus, it is arising. Then it is winding round the periaqueductal gray on the dorsal aspect. It is crossing with the other nerve of the other side, dorsal to this periaqueductal gray. Then coming out from the dorsal aspect, winding round the crus cerebri and the cerebellar peduncle, then passing in between these two arteries, posterior cerebral, superior cerebellar artery, entering into the piercing the roof of cavernous sinus, lying between the oculomotor above, ophthalmic below, then entering the superior orbital fissure and entering into the orbit to supply the superior oblique muscle. Okay, so this is the course of the trochlear nerve. Understood? Next, what is the branch? The trochlear nerve supplies only one muscle, that is superior oblique muscle. See here, this trochlear nerve coming out from the dorsal aspect of midbrain supplying superior oblique muscle. And this is the nucleus of abducent nerve, okay, which is lying under the facial colliculus in the floor of the fourth ventricle, and this is coming out from the ventral aspect at the pontomedullary junction. This part is midbrain, here is pons, this part is medulla. So abducens nerve is coming out from pontomedullary junction and going to supply the lateral rectus muscle. Okay, understood? So and components are general somatic efferent for both the nerves. Okay. Next. So the trochlear nerve lesion, it causes paralysis of the superior oblique muscle and produces two effects: extortion of the eyeball and weakness of the downward gaze, and there will be diplopia or double vision on looking downward. Okay, so these two will be the symptoms of trochlear nerve lesion. Okay, next we go to, due to these effects, the patient faces difficulty while going downstairs or reading the newspaper. To avoid this diplopia, the patient tilts the head forward and to the affected side. Okay, this is due to for compensating this lesion. Understood? Next. So we have completed trochlear nerve. Next we are going to the abducent nerve, sixth cranial nerve. So abducent or sixth cranial nerve is purely motor and supplies only one muscle, lateral rectus of the eyeball. Silence everyone. So lateral rectus of the eyeball is supplied by the abducent nerve, and as it lateral rectus function is abduction of the eyeball. Okay. So this, as it abducts the eyeball, it is named as abducent nerve, and it has the longest intracranial course. This line is important for your MCQ. Abducent nerve is the longest intracranial course. Trochlear nerve is only nerve coming out from the dorsal aspect. These are very frequently given in your MCQ. Next is functional component and nuclei. These are the two functional components: general somatic efferent, general somatic afferent. General somatic efferent fibers arise from the abducent nucleus in the pons, supply the lateral rectus muscle of the eyeball. And general somatic afferent component fibers carry proprioception from the lateral rectus muscle to the mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. Okay, next. See here, there are the functional components, nuclei, and their functions. So general somatic efferent nucleus is abducent nucleus. It will supply the lateral rectus muscle of the eyeball. Next is general somatic afferent. It is carrying proprioception from the lateral rectus muscle, and it is involving the mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal nerve. And you note down all the proprioception, they are relaying in the mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. Okay. Next. So this is the summarization of functional component are these two: general somatic efferent, general somatic afferent. General somatic efferent nuclei is abducent nuclei supplying lateral rectus, and general somatic afferent, it carrying proprioception from lateral rectus and relaying in mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal nerve. Next, origin of this abducent nerve from the pontomedullary junction just above the pyramid, and course, it has intraneural course, intracranial course, and intraorbital. So intraneural course passes through trapezoid body and basilar part of the pons. Intracranial course emerges above the pyramid, runs upward and turns sharply forward across the petrous part of the temporal bone, traverses through the cavernous sinus, enters the orbit through the superior orbital fissure. These are the branches it supplies the lateral rectus muscle. And in case of lesion of abducent nerve, there will be inability to abduct the eye, extropia, diplopia, or looking towards the affected side. Okay, because the on the affected side eye cannot abduct to see the lateral view. See here the course origin of the nerve. See, this is the abducent nerve nucleus lying deep to the facial colliculus and winding round this nucleus. This is facial nerve which is coming out from the motor nucleus of facial nerve. Facial nerve is winding round this abducent nucleus and coming out from the pontomedullary junction. Abducent nerve just above the pyramid, facial nerve lateral above the olive. Okay. So the abducent nerve is attached to the brainstem between the lower border of pons and upper border of the medulla at the pontomedullary junction, and here the nerve lies medial to the facial nerve. See this, these are abducents are medial to the facial nerve. Next we go to the course and relations. Course of the abducent nerve is divided into three parts. Those three: intraneuronal course, intracranial course, and intraorbital course. Course, the nucleus of the abducent nerve is located in the pons, in the floor of fourth ventricle, deep to the facial colliculus, and the fibers arising from the nucleus run ventrally and downward through the trapezoid body and basilar part of the pons. Next we go to the intracranial course. Abducent nerve has the longest intracranial course. It emerges at the pontomedullary junction just at the upper border of the pyramid of the medulla. Then the nerve runs upward and forward and laterally in front of the pons and dorsal to the anterior inferior cerebellar artery. Here you can see it is coming out from pontomedullary junction, lies dorsal to anterior inferior cerebellar artery. Abducent nerve pierces the dura mater lateral to the dorsal celli to enter the cavernous sinus. Here it is entering into the cavernous sinus, and here the nerve takes sharp forward turn across the upper border of the petrous part of the temporal bone, and the nerve traverses the cavernous sinus at first lateral to the internal carotid artery. You have seen during the cavernous sinus class, abducent nerve is closely related to the internal carotid artery, and then inferolateral to the artery, and it enters the orbit through the tendinous ring through the middle part of the superior orbital fissure. Here it is entering into the orbit through the superior orbital fissure and supplying the lateral rectus. Okay, understood? So this is course of the abducent nerve, longest intracranial course. Okay, next we are going to intraorbital course. In the orbit, the nerve lies below the two divisions of oculomotor nerve and nasociliary nerve, and then the nerve runs forward and laterally over the ocular surface of the lateral rectus and supplies this lateral rectus muscle. Abducent nerve supplies only one muscle, that is lateral rectus. This is what is also known as lover's nerve. It is called lover's nerve because it supplies the lateral rectus muscle and which is used for non-verbal communication by the lovers. Okay, so this is lover's nerve, and at the crossing of sharp border of the petrous part of the temporal bone, the abducent nerve passes below the petroclinoid ligament. Near the apex of the petrous temporal, there is one ligament, petroclinoid ligament, and it passes below this ligament, and here the nerve enters the fibroosseous tunnel called Dorelow's canal, and which formed by the apex of the petrous temporal and petroclinoid ligament or Gruber's ligament. Okay, so this is how Dorelow's canal is formed near the apex of petrous temporal. Next we go to the clinical aspect of this nerve, lesions of the abducent nerve. It is damaged commonly in the increased intracranial pressure due to the following reasons: due to its long intracranial course, sharp bending over the sharp upper border of the petrous temporal bone, and due to these reasons, this nerve is stressed due to descent of the brainstem in the increased intracranial pressure. Brainstem herniation occurs in increased intracranial pressure during these cases. During increased intracranial pressure, this nerve is most commonly stressed because it has a long intracranial course. And what will be the symptoms? Effects of lesion: the paralysis of abducent nerve results in paralysis of lateral rectus muscle, and which causes inability to abduct the eye. Extropia: extropia is convergent squint due to unopposed action of the medial rectus. Okay, and diplopia on looking towards the affected side. So these are the symptoms of paralysis of lateral rectus muscle.